it, and he had what appeared to be a bloody sheet.
Okay, so who all here happens to be fans of Victor Salva's Jeepers Creepers? We know we're big fans, and as per our PhD level research, we're also aware of the fact that the film was actually based on a true story. With that being said, of course, the Creeper isn't real, and yes, the entire thing revolves around the Creeper being nothing but an impressive work of fiction. Well, aren't we glad about it, because if you ask us, the whole idea of a demonic villain coming back to life every 23 years, only to give painful, nightmarish deaths to his chosen victims, and then feed on their body parts to incorporate them into his own body, is legit scary. However, despite the supernatural elements, the beginning of the 2001 horror film was actually based on an actual situation that had taken place in today's video. We'll be taking a look at what really took place while delving into the criminal acts of a certain someone named Dennis DePue. Get ready to explore the real-life Jeepers Creepers with us. Before we get into our explanation, we do have one very small request. If you enjoy our content, then please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Now let's begin.
Later that night, Mary was shocked to learn that Hank Queen was
Real Crimes of Michigan resident Dennis DePue explored. It's true that Salva has only given credit to Steven Spielberg's 1971 action thriller Duel as the main inspiration for his movie Jeepers Creepers. But having said that, the opening sequence of his film has been a direct lifting of the documentary TV series Unsolved Mysteries, Season 3, Episode 23, to be more precise, that screened a piece-by-piece reenactment of the whole story, with special emphasis on DePue's misdeeds. Allow us to get into the details to help you understand things better. On Sunday, 15th of April 1990, Ray and Marie Thornton were enjoying a weekend drive down the Snow Prairie Road in Coldwater, Michigan. While driving, they played their usual game, which was coming up instantly with words and phrases from the license plates of passing cars. With a speeding green Chevy van passing them by rather aggressively, Mary noticed the vanity plate that had GZ written on it, followed by the numbers. This had Marie exclaiming, "Geez, he must be in a hurry," and winning that round of the game. What Ray and Marie didn't realize at the time was that their leisurely Sunday outing would literally place them right in the center of a heinous crime. Witnesses to DePue's dirty deed. Ray and Marie continue driving a few miles down the road, and they come across this abandoned old schoolhouse. This is where they spot the same green Chevrolet, now parked on the side of the building. However, this time, the Thorntons are also able to see the driver, and Marie, to her complete shock, finds the driver holding either a blanket or a sheet that looks like it's soaked in blood. Alarmed and unsure of what they had just witnessed, they decided not to draw attention to themselves and left immediately. A couple miles down the road, the Thorntons, to their horror, find the same Chevy van approaching them at quite a speed from behind. The van follows them closely for several miles, until the Thorntons turn off on the main road. When they look in the rearview mirror, they see that the van has also pulled off to the other side of the road. Determined to get a full view of the license plate number, the Thorntons drive back to the intersection to find the man changing the license plate off his van. If only that would have been all. But it clearly was not the case. The front passenger door of the van was open, and there was blood everywhere. Disturbed and horrified at the same time, Ray and Marie decide to return to the old schoolhouse to gather more concrete information. Once they're there, they start looking around and find the bloody sheet partially stuffed inside an animal hole. Of course, things began to make sense to the Thorntons. When they saw the man earlier at the schoolhouse, he was simply trying to dispose of the bloody sheet, and clearly he was not able to do so, because he noticed the Thorntons looking at him suspiciously. Anyway, the Thorntons contacted the Michigan State Police right after, and recounted the entire thing. But what they were oblivious to was that the police were already scouring the whole area looking for the same man. The story of the DePues. Property assessor Dennis DePue and high school guidance counselor Marilyn were married for 18 years and had 3 children. Tension in the marriage led Dennis to become withdrawn, and he started accusing Marilyn of turning the children against him. Despite Marilyn being the first one to file for divorce, Dennis tries to keep their marriage intact, but their marital decay eventually had the couple headed for divorce. Dennis was granted bi-weekly visitation rights and also given access to the guest house that he was seen using as an office space. On 15th April 1990, when Dennis came over to pick up the children, the younger daughter Julie refused to go with him. Next, with his son Scott also showing reluctance to go, it led to an argument between the children and Dennis. When Marilyn intervened, Dennis became hyper, and things heated up even more. So much so that he pushed Marilyn down the stairs. The children saw their father beating up their mother right in front of them and begged him to stop. When he didn't, the elder daughter Jennifer ran to the neighbor's house to call for help. Marilyn was badly hurt in the process and also semi-conscious. Dennis carried Marilyn back up the stairs and out of the house, telling his children that he was taking her to the hospital. Of course, divorced. He never took her to any hospital, and that was the last time the children saw their mother alive. Marilyn was shot in the back of the head by Dennis, most likely in the same van, which is why the front passenger seat was entirely covered in blood. When the Thorntons first saw Dennis near the old schoolhouse, he was trying to dispose of the bloody sheet that he had wrapped Marilyn's body in. Based on the evidence found, it did appear that Dennis had killed his wife, and it was not until the next day that Marilyn's body was discovered on the side of a deserted road in Bethel Township by some highway workers. What led to the murder of Marilyn? Of course, a lot was going on. The couple was mostly found arguing, and after a while, they just seemed not to get along with each other anymore. Of course, Dennis never wanted a divorce in the first place, which is why he made several attempts to keep the marriage intact, even after Marilyn had filed for divorce. But their marriage had become loveless, and there was just no denying it. On top of that, Marilyn was also quite tired of being controlled. She was not allowed to make any decisions anymore, which made her quite unhappy. After the divorce, Dennis was given access to the guest house that he used primarily as an excuse to have control over his family. Even with Marilyn changing the locks of the guest house, Dennis did find a way to gain entry to their home. Also, as mentioned previously, Dennis pretty much held Marilyn accountable for turning their children against him, and that leads many to believe that Dennis killed his wife predominantly because of this reason. DePue became the subject of a police manhunt. By the time the police were looking for Dennis DePue, he had already disappeared after having killed his ex-wife. Eventually, family and friends started receiving bizarre, rambling letters from Dennis, who was already on the run by then. The letters were lengthy rants where Dennis mostly tried to justify why he killed Marilyn, accusing her entirely of turning his family against him. Dennis also stated that he didn't have anything left and that he believed he was too old to start things over. The Murder on Air. A year after the murder, the documentary TV series Unsolved Mysteries aired a segment on the DePue case. The episode was broadcast on the night of 20th March 1991. A woman named Mary comes back home in Dallas, and to her surprise, finds her boyfriend Hank Queen's Chevrolet van parked in the driveway instead of the vehicle in the garage. When Mary enters the room, Hank tells her that he has to make an emergency trip back home as his mother is not doing well. Hank asks her to make a few sandwiches while he's seen packing up his clothes in a bag. Hank puts his stuff inside the van, bids Mary goodbye, and leaves from there. Mary could clearly sense something was wrong and had this feeling that she might never see Hank again. Later that night, Mary was beyond shocked to learn that her boyfriend, Hank Queen, was actually Dennis DePue. Not only was DePue living an entirely different life in Dallas, he had also taken up a new identity. When DePue saw the episode earlier that evening, he panicked. He realized that he could no longer stay there and had to leave immediately. So he made up a story and left Mary's home as soon as possible. One of Mary's friends had notified the authorities, telling them about her friend's boyfriend and providing them with his van's license plate number. The police found Dennis DePue the same night as he attempted to leave the area. It was a high-speed chase and a very long pursuit indeed. Not only did DePue end up shooting at the officers using his gun, but he also broke through 2 police barricades before finally shooting himself in the head. Marvelous verdict. Well, that's all for today, and with this we finally come to the closing chapter of a bitter, heated friction between a husband and his wife, which ended in murder. So what do you think about the real-life Jeepers Creepers? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below, and we sincerely hope you've gotten your fill of news for today. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Please do leave a thumbs up and stay tuned with us as we promise to come back with more exciting content. Till then, goodbye and thanks for watching. Have a good one.